We can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from youth. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Catch us at www.thesmokingglasshour.com.
As 2016 draws near, so does the presidential election. Let God be your guide to lead you to the right decision. Don't rely on others' opinions. Use your opinion and choose the right president for 2016 to lead our country.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight, Wednesday edition, we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton for 2016 presidential election. That commercial you just heard was by my two little special nieces out of Monticello, Arkansas. Momo and Lulu is what they are called. So before we get into the broadcast, I believe one of those little girls are sick. So if you're out there listening, please send up a prayer, because one of them is, I believe, in the 8th or 9th grade, and the other one is in the 5th or 6th grade, and they are very, 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 very special to me. And just to let you know, they look nothing like me, but they still believe in right versus wrong. They still believe in liberty and justice for all, and they were taught well by their parents, and they were taught well by their grandparents. Tonight, once again, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, and then we're going to fade back and forth with a little relaxing sounds of some Motown, some Gladys Knights and the Pips, some changes going to come by Sam Cooke, some Barry White, some Earth, Wind, and Fire. So if you are an adult and you're out there listening, and you want to hear some very, very good relaxing sounds, stay tuned, because our goal is to provide you information and to get you over the hump, which is today, Wednesday, January, I believe the 5th or 6th, to get you over the hump. And we are glad. We're glad that you are out there listening to us live on the SmokingGlassHour.wordpress.com. We're not doing the live call-in tonight at the 773 number. However, you can get on the Spreaker.com. You can message us live in the chat room, or you can send us, talk to us on Twitter live at Baron Glass Hour or at the Smoking Glass Hour, and we will be glad to engage. I was fortunate today, this morning, as I said in the Periscope broadcast, to listen to Senator Bernie Sanders this morning. I heard him on Morning Joe. But before I heard him speak, I heard Donald Trump. I heard Chris Christie. I heard, I believe it was one of the other guys. And also, I was able to hear Bernie Sanders' wife. Now, I don't know if you heard the interview this morning. I don't even know if you had the opportunity to see Miss Sanders. But this lady, folks, she was very, very impressive, very astute, very in tune with the issues. She knew exactly what her husband stood for. She knew exactly where Bernie Sanders stood on what issue and what he did even back in his early era of his campaigns. And I'm talking about as a congressman, as a mayor, and all the other additives that he was involved in as a political individual. Now, people are talking about Bill Clinton out there on the stomping ground for Senator Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Well, I'm here to tell you today that Miss Sanders is going to draw a lot of votes for Bernie Sanders. And so the reason why she's going to draw a lot of votes is because she's not coming across as fake. She's coming across as an authentic individual who believes in making America a place for all people, not just some, not just for those out on Wall Street, not just for the big banks, the big CEOs, but all of those individuals that fall below the $150,000, $250,000 salary cap or income level. So what do you mean? I mean that this lady is speaking to the general population. Those of us who are barely making it. Those of us who are making it and still paying college loans and all of those types of things. Not those who are living the luxurious lives, driving the fancy Rolls Royce, the BMWs, going to Donald Trump country clubs and things of that nature. I'm talking about those who are falling below the middle class. So we know that the 2016 presidential election is very important. And it's very important that you, the listener, get involved and understand what's going on in the political realm. We know that many people don't understand politics. Now, in 2015, we brought you the gubernatorial election, the attorney general election. We brought you all the state election and all of the local election up to the very final moment when individuals were elected. And our plan in 2016 is to talk specifically about the presidential election with all the upcoming congressional races and all of those things that will be involved. So if you want to understand, if you want to become aware. Now, the difference between us and mainstream media is this, is that we're not trying to sway you one way or the other. We're providing information based on what we are able to find. We're not scripting our message. We're not bringing you on as a guest and telling you what you can and cannot say. And the same reason we believe that we must keep fighting for the importance of public education for our children, our economy, our communities, and our future. We feel that we should continue to fight for those people who are going to go to Washington, D.C., go to the state level, go to the local level, and represent those people who elected them rather than electing those people who come out of their pockets and pay millions of dollars for your vote. Now, we know that though Hillary Clinton is, according to mainstream media, is still considered the front runner for the Democratic nomination, she's increasingly seeing a real challenge from the left, from Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from the state of Vermont. Sanders, we know, has galvanized the progressive left, and he has become a threat to win more left-leaning early voting states like Iowa and New Hampshire. But Senator Sanders cannot do that without you, the voter, getting involved. Just like all of us who sent Barack Obama to Washington, D.C. We sent him there, but we failed in the midterm election to keep him a Congress, to keep a Senate that could work with him rather than have those like the United States Congress that we have, the United States Senate that we have now that has been labeled a do-nothing Congress. So it's not just about electing Senator Bernie Sanders. It's not about just sending Senator Sanders to Washington, D.C. It's not just about going out and voting in the presidential election, because we know that congressional races are coming up in 2016 as well. So what do we need to do? We need to make sure that we register people to vote, and we need to make sure that those we register to vote, we get them to the polls, and we get to the polls ourselves. Now, on many issues that are out there facing the country right now, we know that Clinton and Sanders, they are not really that far apart. The difference is, in my opinion, is that Clinton is in too deep with Wall Street, with big bankers, big CEOs, because if you look at her track record, look at who she has been affiliated with, and then you flip the script over and you see who Senator Bernie Sanders has been moving and shaking with, you will see a distinct difference. Now, we know that particularly on women's rights and women health issues, that Sanders and Clinton's position, they seem to be pretty much identical. Now, we know, if you don't, we're going to tell you that both support equal pay bills. They both favor universal pre-kindergarten educational programs, and both support paid family leave. We also know that they are fairly close together on issues like immigration and some aspects to campaign finance reform. But here we are, but in spite all of the similarities, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from the state of Vermont, remains a challenger with legitimate claims to run as a progressive alternative to Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton. And for those who are out there listening who say that if you are for Bernie, you can't be for Clinton. If you're for Clinton, you can't be for Bernie. Because when you look at the general election, when the smoke clears and the dust settles, whoever remains standing, that's who people say you should be going for. But my position is a little different. If the last person that's standing is in too deep and will make no significant changes, then why should you support something just because? It's just like these old traditions that has gotten America in some of the situations that we are in right now. Now, some of us, we know that some of us can imagine that back in the day, in 2000, in the late 90s, and so forth and so on, Bernie Sanders, we know he was skeptical of a centrist by the name of Bill Clinton for president back in 1992, I believe is when it was. And what happened was immediately after Bill Clinton won the election, and Bill went out and appointed his wife, Hillary Clinton at the time, to lead on the health care reform back in the 90s. And I know most of you guys understand. And remember back when Bill Clinton was in office. We know that, again, he appointed his wife, which he was entitled to lead the health care reform. Now, what Bernie Sanders did was he set to work and he set out, let me back up. He set out and he attempted to convince Hillary Clinton of a single payer Medicare for all system. Now, the good part about this is that you can probably imagine he was not successful in convincing Hillary Clinton of a single payer Medicare for all system. Now, the dialogue continued between Clinton and those that Bernie Sanders handpicked himself, some Harvard Medical School physicians that were supporting the single payer system. And they all had a meeting. They all had a meeting at the White House with then Hillary Clinton, the wife of Bill Clinton, at the White House. And this is very important for those out there who are listening to understand what happened, how it happened, when it happened, and what was the outcome of the meeting. Because, see, sometimes those things that happen behind closed doors, we, the people, never have the opportunity to understand what took place. And here we are. They got the meeting set up at the White House. Okay? And those very astute doctors, they laid out their case for a single payer to Hillary Clinton at the time was the First Lady. Now, here's what she said, a direct quote. She said, and she told the doctors, that you make a convincing case, but is there any force on the face of the earth that could counter the hundreds of millions of dollars the insurance industry would spend fighting that? And one of the doctors said, and I quote, "How about the president of the United States at the time was Bill Clinton, actually leading the American people?" And here's what Hillary Clinton said at the time. She said, responded and replied, "Tell me something real. Tell me something real." Now, the question it is that why would she say that? Why? We know that, once again, that there are some core differences between Clinton and Senator Sanders. We know all of these things. Okay, we know that Bernie Sanders is a leader for the people. Okay, we know that Bernie Sanders believes that American politics can overcome the power of the corporate wealthy. We know that Hillary is resigned to that power, dictating the direction of our policies and our public policies. Unfortunately, some people in D.C., they feel that way, which is why some of the things still happens today. So we now know that Democrats have a choice. They have a choice between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. We know that. We know that one candidate out there believes that citizens and strong leaders representing those citizens, we know that they can shape our public policy. Excuse me. Now, the other candidate believes that corporations, and pay attention, like private healthcare insurers with outrageously wealthy CEOs, have all the agency. Once again, we know Senator Bernie Sanders believes that citizens and strong leaders representing those citizens can shape public policy, and the other candidate believes that corporations like private healthcare insurers with outrageously wealthy CEOs have all the agencies that's out there. Now, I'm going to let some of this information sink in. And for those who are out there, understand and know. They know that music has always been important to the fabric of America. We know that Sam Cooke had a song called "A Change Is Gonna Come." My question right now is 2016, the year that the change is gonna come. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned to Sam Cooke, "A Change Is Gonna Come," and after Sam Cooke, I'll be right back.
Looking for a personal injury attorney? Look no further than Columbia, Louisiana. W. Mark McKee specializes in personal injury cases. He is located at 7134 Highway 165 in Columbia, Louisiana. Tell Mark you heard it right here on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. You may also contact Mark at 318-649-2622. That number again, 318-649-2622. Contact him today.
You know, people always ask me why I do what I do. It was the teaching of my mother who taught me how to be strong and never waver when it comes to what I believe in as a man. She taught me that if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Here at WMAD Radio, the goal is to stand for something and make a difference in the world while I still have that chance. Thanks to my mother for all she has done for me. Join the WMAD team where we can make a difference in the world today.
We're back broadcasting live. Tonight we're talking about the difference between Bernie Sanders and Senator Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in the presidential election in 2016. We started out talking about certain things. We started out talking about how Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders tried to work on a single-payer Medicare for all system. We told you basically some of the conversation in the end result of that meeting they had there in the White House. And the question that remains today is who would best represent the progressives, the Democrats, and those left of center in the 2016 presidential election. Again, we know that voting can be very, very hard. We know that voting can be very, very complicated. We know that voting can be very, very boring. But it's not boring when you understand and realize that the vote you make decides what happened to you for the next 4 years in a presidential election. The vote that you don't make, you allow other people to decide for you. So the question is, do you want to be thrown in the water by somebody? Or do you want to jump in the water on your own free will in a court? Now, we know that people must learn to choose wisely. We know that choosing wisely allows you to make the best choice that's available. We know that some people do not have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding that you do. It is incumbent upon you. You are commissioned to make sure that you share the knowledge you have. You tell a neighbor, you tell a friend. You encourage, you inspire, you engage them in the political process because, see, social justice is a part of the American fabric. We see Donald Trump out talking all of this crazy bigotry stuff. We see Ted Cruz following not too far from him talking the same individual language. The difference is Trump has the money and feels that he can say what he wants to say. Cruz is trying to appeal to his base. So the question remains on the Republican side, who will be the long horse at the end of the day that will end up being the nominee? And whoever that nominee is, the question is, what are you Democrat Republicans, Democrat progressives, independents, and all of those in between, what is it that you're going to do to make the wise decision? So since we're talking about the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton in 2016, let's look at one specific fact before we go. We know that Bernie Sanders, and this may not be the latest figure, but it gives you some indication of the difference. Let's look at Bernie Sanders' net worth. His net worth is about $330,507. We know that Bernie Sanders is not a multi-millionaire. unlike his opponent, former Secretary of State, former First Lady, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Net worth $330,507 versus a multi-millionaire. Now, when you look at multi-millionaire, we know multi is more than one. So rather than throw out some big figures, 10, 15, 20, all that other kind of millions, let's just look at $330,000 versus multi, let's just say two because it's more than one. Let's look at $2 million. Well, look at yourself making $330,000 and how you can live. And look at your neighbor. Just imagine your neighbor making $200 million, or $2 million rather, and look how they are living. Look at what they are able to do. So that gives you a general idea as to the difference between Sanders and Clinton. Okay, now, when we look at those who move and shake with the Donald Trumps, the millionaires and the billionaires, ask yourself, can you go to the country club where the billionaires go? Where the millionaires go? And if you can go, the question is, how are you able to go? And if you can't go, ask yourself, why can you not go? So there's a distinct difference between Clinton and Sanders. When you look at Wall Street, big time CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, the top 1%, who do you think move and shake with those people? Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, or United States Senator, independent from Vermont, Bernie Sanders? Now, Bernie Sanders happens to be 73 years of age, which he is older than Hillary Clinton at the age of 67, which simply makes him more experienced than Hillary Clinton. Now, one thing that I really like doing the fact checking, doing the research, is that Bernie Sanders himself is not a close personal friend of Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein. What does that tell you once again? He's not the personal friend of Goldman Sachs. And we know about Goldman Sachs, and if you don't, talk about Goldman Sachs to anybody when President Barack Obama came into office in 2006, 2008, and look and find out and understand what happened to Goldman Sachs back during that particular period 6 or some odd years ago. So you'll get an understanding of who you are looking at, who you are deciding to vote for, and who you should vote for at that particular time. Now, again, we said that we're going to flow back and forward. We're going to flow back and forward from facts to music because we know that it's hump day and we want to give you information and we want you to enjoy some relaxing sounds. And right now we're going to listen to a little Barry White, and I'll be right back. some relaxing sounds of Mr. Barry White love themes. Those of you out there who know about Heat Wave, always and forever. So Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, here we are. Let's listen to some Heat Wave, always and forever. You're listening to some Heat Wave by Always and Forever. Always and Forever by Heat Wave. Tonight you're listening to a special edition of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We're talking the difference between Bernie Sanders and Secretary of State, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. We left off by saying that Bernie Sanders is not a close friend to Goldman Sachs CEO. We also know that Bernie Sanders himself, Senator Bernie Sanders, has never been paid a six-figure salary to go speak to a room full of Goldman Sachs executives. Never. We also know that those who are out there, if you know anything about the TPP, which is a Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, we know that Bernie Sanders had a clear position on that particular trade agreement. He wasn't flip-flopping. He didn't go left. He didn't go right. He made his position and he stuck to it. And that's one of the things about Senator Sanders. He knows what he wants. He does what he wants. And he's not afraid to go up against all of those big-time executives because he knows he's not in deep with them after the conversation is over. He don't have to worry about whether they're going to pull campaign contributions given to him because he is making it off of grassroots. $25, $10, $15, $5 donors. Those are the people who are funding Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, let's look at Bernie Sanders. His top campaign donors, they are labor unions. Okay? They are labor unions and people like you and I. But they are not Wall Street banks. They are not big-time CEOs. They are not those big-time millionaires that are out there that own these expensive golf clubs, go there every weekend and donate and plot and plan what they're going to do Monday through the next Thursday or Friday. Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, one of the things that got former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in a bind when she was running against Barack Obama was this right here. See, Bernie Sanders voted against the war in Iraq. Well, guess who voted for the war in Iraq? Well, if you said Secretary of State, former Secretary of State, if you say then Senator Hillary Clinton, well, you got a 100 on the test. Because guess what? She did vote for the war in Iraq. Now, Bernie Sanders and all of his old friends, they don't run the freelance intelligence operation in North Africa. Okay, Bernie Sanders' spouse, guess what? Does not funnel consultation fees through a secret shell corporation. Okay, Bernie Sanders has no known ties to a charitable organization being sued for racketeering. Bernie Sanders has no known ties. We know that. Bernie Sanders has executive experience as far as a 4-term mayor of Burlington, Vermont. So that gives him experience. That gives him all of these qualities and characteristics, or some of these qualities and characteristics that allows Senator Sanders to be the leader of the free world in 2016. Now, here's another kicker. Senator Bernie Sanders. Sanders was actually born in New York, the state that Hillary represented in the Senate after, guess what? Buying a mansion that was there. We know also Senator Sanders doesn't do fake accents. We also know that Senator Bernie Sanders has never approved weapon sales to foreign donors to his family's charity. We know that Bernie Sanders is not afraid to stand up and fight for those like you and I. We know that Senator Sanders does not have to worry about big-time donors pulling money from his campaign. Bernie Sanders knows that the hard-working progressives, the hard-working individual people that are out there who want to be a part of this so-called dream, we know that Senator Sanders is fighting for those individuals. We know that. We know that Senator Sanders is doing all he can. We know that Senator Sanders needs you to do all you can. So we must get on this train. We know that we must get on this train to help Senator Sanders go to the White House. We're going to pause just briefly, and then we're going to put you on the train with some sounds of Gladys Knight and the Pips, Midnight Train to Georgia. Stay tuned.
Diversity, the state of having people who are different races or who have different cultures in a group or organization. Our number one goal at the Smoking Glass Hour is to create diversity. We believe diverse conversations with diverse groups of people makes America better. Listen to our broadcast on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Diversity is the only way to go in 2015. And don't forget, tell a neighbor, tell a friend about the diversity on the Smoking Glass Hour.
to Georgia. You may be asking this question, what's going on? We're going to let Marvin Gaye tell you. You're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight, the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Here we are, Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Mr. Marvin Gaye, what's going on in 2016? We know that the Constitution, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. The Constitution mentions the right to vote 5 times. Judges and voter ID law proponents don't seem to be getting the hint of why voting is very important. Which constitutional right is the most important? Which constitutional right is more important? Some might answer freedom of speech. Some might answer and say free exercise of religion. Some think it's the right to keep and bear arms, the Second Amendment. Some think that it is anything else but what it should be. We know that criminal lawyers think of the guarantee against unreasonable searches and seizures. Trial lawyers of jury trials in civil cases. But here's the question once again. which is most important, which is often used in the Constitution text when you read it. When you read it, you will find it's the right to vote. And that's why we're talking and telling you about the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and anybody else that's out there running, because we want you to exercise that most important right, which is the right to vote. Now, when we look in voter ID cases all over the country, we know that courts are considering the proper level of scrutiny to apply to burdens on the right to cast a ballot for the candidate of their choice. We know that back in 2008, the Supreme Court of the United States, approved an Indiana voter ID law, even conceding that it had a partisan basis because it was not excessively burdensome to most voters. Justice Antonin Scalia, who wrote the opinion for himself, and Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Samuel Alito concurred separately to suggest that the proper level of scrutiny was more like whatever the legislators want. What we are saying here at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass here tonight on the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton in 2016 is whether you are voting for Trump, whether you're voting for Bernie Sanders, whether you're voting for Hillary Clinton, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, or any other candidate that's out there. Remember this one thing. Remember this one thing as you go to the poll. Remember, voting is the most important, and we suggest you seize the moment and cast your vote. You've been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, special edition. Tonight, the difference between Bernie Sanders and Secretary of State, former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, former First Lady under Bill Clinton. We close it out by listening to some relaxing sounds. Some relaxing sounds of Mr. Mark Middleton, I Do.
Know is how you came to love me so. 'Cause every time I look at you, I can see it in your eyes. What did I do to deserve you? I guess it was meant to be, you and me. Words cannot say what I feel inside when I wake up with you, baby, by my side. Oh, yeah, I do. I love you, yeah. Your hand, I'll help you to understand. There's nothing in this world that I really need except your company. Oh yeah, you're the dream come true, and I'll spend my life with you. Where you go, I'll go. Where you are, I won't be far. Open up to me. I do love you.
Some relaxing sounds of Mr. Mark Middleton, former member of the group out there that sung with Blackstreet. He's telling you, I do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to speed it up just a little. Speed it up just a little and play you some this famous Zydeco music. Bernie Sanders is telling you, please don't forget about me. Keith Frank, the boss.
I'm going to curl it round.
You're listening to the sounds of the Zydeco boss, Keith Franks. I'm trying to close this thing out now, but every time I try to close it out, somebody send me a message. Here we are, Change the World by Mr. Eric Clapton. some sound of Mr. Eric Clapton changed the world. Now, when we look at some of Gladys Knights and the Pips, the song says neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get on. Some Gladys Knights and the Pips. You've been listening to the special edition of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. 2016. Tomorrow's night guest will be Mr. Ian N.C. Scott, Political People blog. They're covering the 2016 presidential primaries, and he's the contributing editor and columnist for Political People blog. So tune in tomorrow night as we go up and talk with Mr. Ian Scott on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Want to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful night, and thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. You can follow us out there on Twitter at Baron Glass Hour, at The Smoking Glass. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and all those other social media sites out there. We're on the move in 2015, headed into 2016. In 2016, we're talking about social justice. So join us. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and thanks for tuning in. Good night.